All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it.
Okay, in 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a... I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Nothing makes me happier than seeing somebody else having a normal moment in front of the fucking camera. Welcome, one and all, to A Girl, a Guy, and a Movie. Today, on our special episode, our very special episode, we are watching one of the greatest movies of all time, and we're here to talk to you about it, from 1971. Janet, this was your first viewing of Don Siegel's Dirty Harry. Am I correct on that?
Yes. First time I've ever seen it.
Holy ballsack. That is absolutely amazing. This movie's
Well,
been out.
It was really, really good, too. I've seen little bits and pieces at different places that I've been. I used to go to a lot of parties in the 90s where they had a big TV and had a bunch of videos playing. And they'd have snippets from movies and music videos and stuff like that. So I've seen a lot of stuff like that on there.
See, I'm a big fan of this movie. I think this movie is kind of what it led. This movie here has made more people into successful career law enforcement or law enforcement adjacent individuals, probably more than any other film in the history of Western civilization. Because this movie here inspired so many people that I know to go into the military, get their either shore patrol or master at arms stuff done. And then once they got out, they knew the path they were going into. They went into the trades of being a protector or a peacekeeper, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
All these guys I know did that.
Yeah.
And I could probably point to about 70 individuals I know that they said Clint Eastwood was a primary source of inspiration because of his character work for this movie. And they wanted to become a cop like Harry Callahan for many years. And then they get into it, policing, and the problems that they find are just like the problems we saw in this movie here, where you have the fruit of the poisonous tree completely blowing out Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry's perfectly legal mindset. We're like, hey, if I can just string all this shit together, which I found probably not correctly, but we can throw this at the DA and we have a case. Bah! The DA fucks him out of that. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert, the movie's like 50 years of age, and you should see it if you haven't.
Yeah, it still holds up really well. I mean, some of the outfits were a little dated, things like that, but and the vehicles, because they were real metal, it didn't look like they were made out of fiberglass like today's vehicles. But the school bus, it could be on the road today. The way it looked, and but definitely the politics and the bureaucrats in the police departments and running cities haven't changed. They're still just as lame and liberal as they are today. I think they haven't changed.
How do you really feel, Janet?
Well, I'm just voicing my opinion on it because I took a lot of notes for the movie and stuff. But it was I thought it was really good. I liked how they paced it to where you find out about his background. And, that he always gets his shit into the stick. That's why he's Dirty Harry, because he's always sent in to clean up the mess, basically. But take the shit at the end because everybody wants things done. They want the pat on the back, but they don't want to do the dirty work to get it.
No.
So I
But
like
the
that.
dirty work, the dirty work is tough, and
Mhm.
nobody wants to have to do something that's tough. You know, everybody wants to speed line things.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to, have the quick game genie answer for shit. Like, no, 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 no. I just press X, it spams the answer right there.
Mhm.
Uh, Don Siegel got a hold of this film script, and he wasn't the first one to do it. Do you remember who the first one was?
Um, no, I don't remember. If we talked about it, I don't remember hearing it.
It,
Sorry.
it really doesn't matter because once Siegel and Clint Eastwood got a hold of this movie and started filming it, it feels like this entire thing was just custom made for them. In fact, the entire movie, I can't see this movie having any other actor in front of the camera. I can't envision a world where there's another Dirty Harry out there portrayed by somebody else. Even if you gave this to Scott Eastwood for the Dirty Harry, the TV series, which was an idea, wasn't bandied about that long, thank God. But even if you did that, it still wouldn't feel like a Dirty Harry product. I honestly feel like this movie has to be a widescreen, feature length, theatrical film. Otherwise, what you've got is a pale impersonation, which there's been so many of those in Western cinema over the decades. Now, Wolfton Media says something that's pretty honest about this film. This is the most referenced movie possibly in the history of Hollywood. The only one I can think of that might be more referenced in quotations would be Casablanca.
I don't know. I've heard lots of, like not headlines, but lines from movies, lots of different movies.
Mm-hmm. But this one here is so well referenced, and there's so many quotable pieces of this film. I don't see where there's another movie that could actually take its place in popular nomenclature, culture. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I think for pop culture, I think this is probably the pinnacle of meme creation. And there's, thank the Lord for the amazing casting editor or casting director who brought in so many good recognizable people that once they committed to this film they got on camera, you can't look at them without remembering that scene that they were in Dirty Harry.
Hmm.
I think this is probably the movie event of 1971. There might be other films that came out that year, but this is a time of a little bit of change in Western cinema because this movie is sandwiched between two other great crime films, The Godfather 1, The Godfather 2. And I think this is one of the films that had came out that helped turn the early 70s into crime film heaven. There's a William Friedkin movie we have yet to watch as a friendship, as a fellowship. We need to watch the film The French Connection because there's some really good stuff between Gene Hackman and Roy Schneider, and that movie is one of the best Friedkin films out there. A lot of people in cinema school talk about that movie as being one of the best, and Friedkin tried to revisit that again in 1997's The Ronin with Robert De Niro, and it didn't quite hit as hard. It's a good movie, just didn't quite hit.
Wasn't there another movie that came out after this with Charles Bronson that was like a revenge?
Death Wish.
Death Wish, yeah. There was a couple of those too, wasn't there? Because my mom really liked him, that actor.
Death Wish movies that are official canonical. One remake with, I believe, Jason Statham, and another remake with Bruce Willis. The remakes do not matter. They do not count. Do not watch them. Do not waste your time. You are better off to stay with the Chuck. He will guide you. Charles Bronson did amazing stuff with the Death Wish franchise.
Yeah, my mom really liked him. She really thought he was a really good actor. So I heard my mom talk more about him than she did Clint. So my dad liked Clint Eastwood, though.
Well, the thing is that Clint Eastwood spoke more to men. Clint Eastwood was a pillar of masculinity back in the 70s and 80s because of all the kids he was making. He's got 8.
Well, my dad had 5, so. There you
I
go.
mean, no. Your dad had 5 that we know of.
Yeah, that we know of. That he put his name tag on.
Exactly. Love you, but you probably have like 3 brothers out there moving around in some like Fort Leonard Woods like subdivision.
I wish I do. Well, I did. I've done DNA. I haven't found any yet. Any lost
I
siblings.
mean, we're not related, but I treat you like a Kentucky sister.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. The story was really good, and I can see why um he was so good at this character. I like the fact they didn't have a bunch of women in it. He was, drooling over and boinking in every corner and stuff like that, like he's done in a lot of his other movies. I like the fact that he was uh, more of a law and order type person. Okay, not the Wild West, but I liked how they add the story when he's went to see his partner that gotten shot, and his partner's wife's there, and he gets to talk to her. And as they're leaving, they talk, and that's when she finds out what happened to his wife, when she's talking about how hard it is to be the wife of a police officer and be a good wife and not worry about him constantly, and not be a pain in the ass basically by constantly whining, please, I want you to quit your job, because you want your husband to live, right? You want to have a husband, that's what you married for, to stay married for 50 years. At least that's what most women I think would want. And so when he's talking to her, that's when she finds out from him, because when he says that his wife was killed by a drunk driver, he crossed the median and killed his wife, a senseless death, basically. So it kind of gives you a little glimpse into his character about why he's like, I want to clean the streets, I want to use my job to the best of my ability and not let these people just keep getting away with all these crimes and hurting innocent people. So I love the scene later on in the movie, the one where he saves the little boy at the pond, that whole scene. I don't want to ruin that part of the movie yet, but
I want to encourage you to talk about it, because everybody else has seen this movie. I've never seen it in the 2020s all the way through. I've seen it one other time all the way through, from start to finish.
mm-hmm.
But every other time I've watched it, it was just like 6 minutes here, 30 minutes there. This is a great film. It's not Die Hard. It's a great movie. It is not one of those movies that as soon as I notice it's on, everything else doesn't exist, and I go straight to the couch. We're watching this movie in its entirety. There's very few films of that caliber.
Well,
Aliens.
I cried in one scene, believe it or not. It just hit me like a knife being stabbed into me. The scene where the psychopath, for whatever stupid reason, which I'll talk about in a minute, got back on the street. Like, I was like, what the blank? But we say that today, like that girl that got stabbed in the throat in New York by a guy that had been released like 30 something times. Okay. And he killed a woman on the subway, and he shouldn't even have been out. Okay. So innocent people die because they're not keeping criminals behind bars like they should. But
we already had a court case about this.
Yeah, he got out, and he kidnapped a bus full of kids and a bus driver, and the bus driver, oh, she was so good. She was a good actress. I don't remember seeing her in anything before that, but she seemed realistic when she was talking, the looks on her face when he's looking to the back of the bus and talking to the kids and trying to get them to sing. And all the kids were, singing, row, row, row your boat and stuff like that. And then this one little boy's like, we're not going the right way, when he's telling the bus driver where to go. And he's like, why are we going the wrong way? We're not going the right way, because he was wanting to go home, like any other little boy. I'm gonna get emotional thinking about it, and he goes back there and he's yelling at that little boy, and then he punches him in the face and knocks him into the seat. I just started bawling my eyes out. I was like, oh, you motherfucker. I just wanted to shoot that guy myself, I just thought it was horrible. But the actor that portrayed the serial killer guy,
Scorpio.
he was really good. Oh,
Yeah. So Scorpio's backstory, he's supposed to be a Vietnam vet who'd seen too much. He comes back and he just can't handle everything, and he's just ape shit crazy.
well,
And so
he did good. The
he
actor
does a
that
really
got-
good job of portraying it, and he's still an actor to this day. I don't believe he retired. There's some other people in this movie that they've passed on, or they've just decided to go sit in their gazebo until they die. But
Yeah.
there's a few actors in this movie that are still out there going at it. Travis, how you doing today, sir? Jackie Blue says, great movie. Hello, Lloyd Christmas. Yeah, this movie is this is one of those rare
I want to
movies.
talk about my outfit real quick, since you can't really see my name. Since there wasn't any really women, people, characters, I dressed as Dirty Mary. So I'm Dirty Mary. So I got my gun and I got my badge. See?
Dirty Harry.
I'm Dirty Mary.
Oh,
So I just figured I'd do that. Someone said they like my tie placement, so which it is. Looks good. And plus I left a post on my channel asking if I should be a redhead, a blonde, or platinum. So I had more red votes, so I went red today. But yeah, this movie I'd never seen, but it was so action-packed from the beginning to the end. As soon as the credits were done, you went right into, you see the serial killer up on top of a building, and you see the huge city, and you see a young woman, like maybe in her early 20s, swimming in a pool. It looks like it's a really beautiful pool, and she gets shot while she's swimming in the pool, and then you see her sink in
Her
blood.
name was Donna, right?
Huh?
Her name was Donna, correct?
I don't remember
Well,
the
the
actress.
lady that portrayed Donna, I believe that's her. This is the last movie that lady did. Everything else in her life after that did not involve a camera or anything that could be recordable by IMDb.
I guess she didn't like it then. She just didn't want to be in the movies.
I don't know. All I'm saying is that
Believable.
Wait,
She looked like she really got shot to me. They did a very good job at the way that, that they had the wound on her shoulder, through the middle of her back, and the blood rising to the top. Because what was it, 1971?
Yep, 1971. You don't have the greatest technology of blood squibs. You don't got Paul Verhoeven working behind the camera to make the blood squib look absolutely perfect in this movie.
Well, in the water, it looked really, really real. And some of the other scenes, like when he gets it on his leg, Clint Eastwood has blood on his leg after he had to fight in front of the cross with the serial killer, the Scorpio. You can tell it kind of looks like paint. It doesn't. It's too reddy pinkish instead of darker red like blood. There was a few times where it didn't look as realistic, but I realized the movie is from 1971. So,
I mean, there's a evolving craft of practical effects that kind of ends in 2017 when people just realize they can edit it in post and just put a CGI blood squib out there and be done with it. There'll be no blood on the ground the next shot from a different angle, but we're just gonna fucking put this shitty CGI there. This movie does a really good job of the blood. I feel it's not a landmark movie in terms of blood squibs. Okay, this is just a movie that does a really good job of telling a story. The special effects are serviceable, but there was a part, I want to say 1978's Night of the Living Dead, where the Ragu Corporation gets called up. And so every time you see blood in that movie, it's just tomato sauce.
Well, I mean, that sheep movie you got me to watch too. It had a lot of parts where it kind of looked like fake blood, didn't look like real blood. But the story arc in this one for Callahan was I really liked it. I liked the fact that when he didn't want a partner because his last two partners, one was dead and the other one was in the hospital still. So they had to give him another partner. And this young buck of a guy that's, got a young wife and stuff, he's wanting to like, chew on his, badge a little, get in there and get some, I don't know, some scars or whatever, earn his his merit badges and stuff, like some of the other detectives that had, made a name for themselves. Basically, is what he seemed like he wanted. He was a gung ho to get in there, and he was even rooting for Dirty Harry later because he asked him, how'd you get the name? Why does everybody call you Dirty Harry? And then later in the movie, like halfway through, when the boss is getting on to Harry, Callahan for making a mess again or whatever they didn't like. And he said, yeah, now I understand why you call him Dirty Harry. You guys always give him the shit end of the stick. And then the boss got mad at him, the chief of police or whatever, for the young guy for defending him. But it was nice to see someone else, a new person, understanding where Harry comes from and why he has to do what he does, because no one else wants to do it. You know what I mean? Everyone else just wants to, sail through their job and make as little ripples as they can, because they don't want to get called out by their boss for, stepping on the wrong toes or whatever. It's sad to me because a lot of us in real life believe that, our big cities are swamped with crime simply because they treat the criminals better than they treat the victims. Like me talking about that same thing about the little girl that was kidnapped by the FedEx driver, and people were all like talking about how horrible it is stuff. And I go, it happened over 2.5 years ago, and he's just now going to court, and he took a plea so he wouldn't have to drag him out or whatever. I don't know why he decided to do that, but he said that he admitted he took her, right, and murdered her. But now they were going to do the sentencing phase, but that was almost 3 years after she was murdered, So the parents have already been waiting for 3 years just for him to get sentenced, whether he gets death or life in prison. And people are acting like it just happened. What a horrible guy. And I go, nobody talked about it when she first got murdered. So it's sad because criminals are swept under the rug. And that's one reason why I looked up that stuff, to show you. I looked up serial killers just in San Francisco Bay, and there has been over 25 serial killers just in that area in California. And that's scary. Think about it. And a serial killer is someone who's killed multiple people.
And I mean, this is just a sign that we are failing as a nation. One, if you're a Democrat, you don't need to be responsible for anything more than a potted plant, because you're just a piece of shit.
And I've been telling everybody that Texas is purple. It's not red anymore, and it's not blue yet, but it's
never red, Janet.
Well, a long time ago, it was supposedly red.
It was never red. Do you understand? There's a fucking cult here for LBJ. Okay, those fucking commies ruined the state, and they continue to ruin everything they touch. It doesn't matter if it's Texas, Illinois. Doesn't matter if it's a little county. If you have a Democrat running something, there's corruption and bullshit, and they secretly hate all their neighbors. They want to import all the ugly fucking degenerates from anywhere else and ruin your nuclear family, because that's what the fucking goal is. If you don't understand that, if you don't want to understand that, you got your hands over your ears, you might be a secret commie in disguise. You probably should go visit a wood chipper.
Yeah.
But I don't like the way I see things here in Texas, but it's still a hell of a lot better than Illinois, where you have thousands of gun owners, and yet we have a governor of Illinois that's allowed to roam and eat freely. Like, holy shit, he's not afraid of anything. They got Floyds in Illinois. You're not supposed to have a firearm unless you got the card to say you can have a firearm.
What's so sad, though, is some of the areas where the states, that make it so hard for you to, a regular person to get a weapon to protect their homes, right? They put so many rules and regulations on there that it's and then you're petrified that if someone does break in and try to kill you and your family, that if you shoot the guy and he lives or she lives, that you'll end up losing your home and everything. Because if they fall, I've heard of criminals breaking in and breaking their leg or falling down the stairs and suing the homeowner because they had a bad banister or whatever. Dumb shit like that is why we are in the position we are. And what was interesting is one of the things that I did find, let me get it real quick, one of my notes. Let me see. I thought it was really interesting because, here it is. Burt Lancaster and Paul Newman were approached, but neither liked the right-wing politics of the film. Newman recommended Eastwood because of his right-leaning political views. He was reluctant at first, but became interested because he felt that the issue of victims' rights were being ignored in the political arena. And that was in 1971, and it hasn't gotten any better, and it's getting worse. More and more cities. People didn't want to be in this movie and didn't want it to be popular because the cops wanted criminals to be punished for committing crimes in their cities. Now, what does that sound like to you? You got all these people standing in front of ICE. You got all this stupid shit going on. The what was it? The freedom shit that they were doing in Oregon and all these different places. So it's like, the people don't want to be in a movie where you have a police officer that tries to save people's lives and put the criminals in prison. So basically it's like Hollywood wants you to take all your kids and your family and lay them on a buffet and put all your money and all your belongings out in the street so the thieves can come and just take it and take your kids or whatever they want, because you're not supposed to have the right to defend yourself. I mean, that's what it sounds like from all the stuff I was reading about the hate that this movie was getting from Hollywood. So Clint Eastwood had some balls to take this and run with it. And look, the people, though, the real people that aren't in Hollywood that buy tickets and made this movie huge, and all, 5 different ones?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and we, the people, like justice and want to see our kids be able to go to the park and go to school, go shopping and do things like that, and not have to worry about being slaughtered in the street or people breaking into your homes or your vehicles, right? And that's what's sad, because way back in 1971, because of this movie, people could see the rift between the criminals, the judicial system, and how uneven it was, that the criminals get treated better. It's proof that when you get the death penalty and you have DNA and everything, you can still sit on death row for 25 years and keep getting appeals and being paid for by the victims' families. The people that you murdered, they're having to pay taxes to feed you and house you and let you work out and have babies. A lot of these places let you get married and have kids while you're on death row. I mean, Ted Bundy had a kid while he was waiting to die in Florida. So that goes to show you, just because it's Florida, the people say it's red, there's still huge liberal cities that run and make decisions.
Nowhere is red or blue decidedly. If you're going to do that, then you need to start outlining what city you're talking about and show the politics of it. Either
all
you
cities.
say Fort
Worth
is purple or red, but yet Orlando is largely blue. How is this? That's because to say that a whole state is red or blue is
bullshit. It isn't. Yeah, I know
Illinois is largely a fucking blue-violet, whereas Texas is mostly red until you get within 10 miles of a major metro area that's over 500,000 people. Then it starts getting wonky. Fort Worth is probably the largest city in the nation with as many right-leaning politics as it's got. But I'm going to tell you the thing that keeps me away from moving there. 1, I like my weather. 2, I hate winter. Both of which are compromised in Fort Worth. I mean, every year there's bad accidents because people don't know how to drive on Interstate 20. And Fort Worth, despite all the things it's got going well for it, can't avoid that. And Bruce is not the type of person to go deal with arthritis, or cold weather. You guys that think you're more manly than me with cold weather life, please go ahead. That's awesome for you. I don't want to deal with it. I shoveled snow for 3 decades. Fuck that. Garbage. Um, I really feel sorry for those people that live in blue cities that vote red each and every time, but you never get any change that you are deserving because corruption or whatever it may be that stops the person that would be accountable, that would make things change. They never come to power because whatever corruption's in play or whatever the mealy mouth gimme crowd is doing, the people you want are not going to get in. And that's part of the problem. I mean, we're all paying for the government to advertise through NGOs that the firearm is bad. And we've been paying for that ever since the Second Amendment came out. There's always some faggot commie that's always going to say that firearms are the number one reason America has all these problems today. If we would just get rid of our guns. And you have this repeated each and every day by these. It doesn't matter which faggot liberal it is. It's always a faggot liberal. These people are just human garbage. Like, what the best you could do is try to vote them out or have your brakes fail if you see them crossing the road. I don't give a shit.
Well,
But,
go ahead.
I mean, I'm not quoting Hassan Piker, but I mean, if he's going to be able to say it, I am too. All right. So
Well, I dug up a bunch of different trivia while you guys were talking about the movie afterward because I kept having an echo, so I tried not to talk. I just started digging stuff up. But I thought it was really funny because there's full frontal nudity for women in this, which is one thing. The more we've gone back and watched some of these old movies, how come they don't have full frontal nudity for men? It's always women.
I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, Janet, you want to see the reason why Clint has 8 kids? Do you want to be the possible reason he could have 9? Okay.
I just don't get it. But the thing is,
whatever
funny,
it is about Clint, he's got some charm about him because there's 8 fucking progenies of him walking around that we know of.
Yeah, look at Elon Musk. He's got what, 15?
Well, that's money talks. That's strictly money. Unless you're a woman that gets
Clint
put
had
on by
money
Oculus.
too. Clint had money. He was a famous actor.
He's a famous actor. He's not billionaire money though.
Well, one thing that was funny because I was looking it was a city, and I wrote down that I could understand why they used the city, the backdrop of San Francisco, basically, to make this movie, to make Dirty Harry. The reason is because it's a crime-ridden town. I mean, just like I said, I looked up serial killers from San Francisco Bay Area, and it was 25. In the history of San Francisco, there's been 25 serial killers. That's not talking about gang violence and murders and husbands beating their wives and robberies, bank robberies, stuff like that. This was just serial killers. And so when you have the mentality that, oh, bad, why wouldn't a bunch of criminals come to your state? Because they know they're going to barely get, that there's tons of fresh meat there. And there's hardly any punishment. So why not move there? You're not going to want to move to a state where they're going to put you on the fast track to the death penalty. I mean, so once we have that, you'll have less crime. I mean, I just believe that's true. But what was interesting was you saw him driving down the road and he's got his new partner and it's at night and they're looking out the windows and stuff. And you see all these strip bars and one of the bars' names, a great big sign that said Pussy Galore. I was like, what the? I couldn't believe that would be a name of an actual bar. Now, it may not be real, but it looked like they were just going down the street, like a real street. And then I was...
Do you remember the days before, like, I'll just say 1977? Okay. If you watch the movies, if you watch the cinema, if you watch the sitcoms before that, like, the tastes were so different from back then till now. I myself, I want the casual racism back. I want it back. I want to hear black, white, Jew people. I want to hear everyone drop in bombs. If you don't like the fucking tiny hat crowd, you call them kikes. If you don't like me, call me a fucking dago. I want that back so badly because the casual racism at least takes the nuts out of the venom that supposedly is in the pejoratives today. You can't say that shit today. You can't. If you say soft A or ER, like no matter what, if you're the wrong melanin count, there's going to be a Wendy's burning down in your neighborhood. And they're looking for it.
Well, yeah.
It's just there's so many fucking pussies out there, and other people that will hide behind racial violence or like I have a small frontal lobe. I have to burn something. I have to go riot.
Well, I
somewhere.
want to ask a question about the whole thing about the nudity stuff. Okay, from a guy, since you're a guy. What is it? What is sexy? I'm sorry, I was still talking about this part of it because I'm trying to understand. They did the thing where he's following the serial killer, right? And the serial killer goes into the strip bar, and it's like dark in there, and it's got red lights, and there's a bunches of supposedly strippers, but all I saw was a bunch of women. Just one woman was on her hands and knees on a fake red bed or something, naked, just completely naked on her hands and knees, and she was just grabbing herself and stuff. And then you had a couple women on stage. They weren't even dancing or pole dancing or anything. They were just totally naked. And they're just walking around. It's like a parade of naked people is sexy to men. You give them money for that. It wasn't even art. It wasn't, it was, I just don't get it. I don't understand why a man would go to a place just to sit at a table and look at a bunch of women walking or crawling around naked. They're not even entertaining. You know what I mean? They weren't doing anything. Unless it was just a room full of hookers, but I didn't see hooker signs. It said it was a strip bar. So I didn't see anybody stripping. I saw everybody naked, just the women naked, not the men.
There's two types of strippers, Janet. Mm-hmm. She has to have the lesson now, I guess. The tender age of 51.
I've never been in a bar where they were naked, walking around naked. I just didn't understand what was going on and why men were
very few full nude strip joints in America nowadays. We have fallen so far from God's light. Okay, so the strip joints that used to be, they would have two tiers of strippers. One would be called the waitresses or the bar staff, where they work in a strip club and they have zero talent being an Olympian on the pole. They have no ability to twirl. They can't figure out how to get their legs up and around things. They're just missionary at best sex workers. That's it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that every woman that's a waitress or the bar staff is a sex worker. I'm not. I'm just saying that some women are not naturally gifted to work the pole. And I mean the pole where you go doing your twirls and your other stuff where you try to, gyrate for the most amount of Washingtons. That's what you do. And then there's another tier of women that whenever they get out there, it becomes a circus act and they defy gravity and they do wonderful things with their bodies and they twirl around and they do just tricks that you would be amazed to see. And that there's two tiers of strippers. The ones that you saw in this movie were obviously those that were hired to be not real strippers because they did not have any athleticism or display any actual gamesmanship.
I didn't see any twerking, gyrating, nothing. They were just standing around walking like they were on parade.
Twerking didn't become a thing until 2006 with My Humps or whenever My Humps, My Lovely Lady Lumps came out.
Oh, that's baloney. All women used to gyrate and stuff.
They all used to gyrate, and that wasn't a camera-ready sport for many years until the night, 2014, when all of a sudden every girl in America that had a smartphone started showing off what their mother gave them. And like all of a sudden you have women that should not have a job with millions of dollars coming in. Now they have millions of dollars coming in. This gave rise to Bad Baby, the girl that came off of, what was that? The Oprah Winfrey doctor guy. He's like, no, let's get real. And she's like, come meet me outside, bitch. That woman there just I mean, it's amazing she made the millions she did. I just feel that this was not the way that her father anticipated. And I feel sorry for her family. I still feel sorry for her family. I don't feel sorry for the simps that gave money to her because I think they're part of the fucking problem. Okay.
Well, one of the things also, it was interesting the way the movie flowed out. Okay, it's the very opening scene, like I said, the girl swimming in the pool, and you see the guy on the roof, and he shoots her. Okay, and she drowns, and then you see Dirty Harry later walking around the grounds of where the body was at, trying to figure out, where the shooter probably shot from. Then later, after they go back and they leave and stuff, you see two guys in a helicopter. Like, I guess they're looking for people on the roof. I mean, you'd think there'd be a lot of people on roofs, doing stuff, because people live in these buildings, I thought. I mean, I don't understand it because I've never lived in a big city like that. I went from military bases to like Hillbillyville. So I don't know that was about cities, tall buildings and stuff. But you see these two guys on the helicopter, and then all of a sudden they go, look, there's a guy on a roof over there. And then they tell him to quit doing what he's doing. And the whole time he's putting a rifle together now because he sees two guys on a park bench eating ice cream, and he's going to shoot one of them or both of them. And he ends up running and getting out of the building or whatever. But it was like that quickly. I mean, the same day that he supposedly shot that woman that morning, and they already found him on the roof that quickly. I just thought that was a little far-fetched, that they were able to see somebody on a roof that fast looking for it. So that I had a hard time with that.
It might have been a problem with the script, because keep in mind, this is a script that was rewritten 5 separate times, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Dean Riedel eventually did it. He did the script right. There was another script by Mark that his script was different, but that script was actually modified to be made for Magnum Force, which came out in '73. We'll watch that in a little bit. But this movie here had some coincidences, and I consider the rooftop spotting a coincidence, but I still think it was a good coincidence because it still led to more development of the characters. It gave to a better pacing than if they just like had 30 minutes or 40 minutes. We're in a police helicopter. Bob, why don't you give us a weather report for today? I'm glad we had that guy spotted off the rooftop. Is it realistic? No. But is it good for a movie? Absolutely. But it
didn't seem like if it'd been a couple days later, you see what I mean? Then it would have been more realistic, because we don't know how long these people have been flying around the city.
How long had he been a serial killer? How long had he been practicing his craft of making people?
I don't know. I guess ever since he came back from the war, by the way he was acting. So I don't know.
I think that coincidence there, I think it works for the film. Is it realistic? Maybe not, but it works. If you have a problem with it, that's okay. That's fine. There are other movies.
My notes because I wrote a bunch of notes. Mm-hmm.
There are far worse coincidences in Hollywood that have made it to the big screen than this movie here with the rooftop chase. Mm-hmm. I honestly feel this is one of the better coincidences because it seems to further the narratives. It gives you a better understanding quickly into Dirty Harry's character. It leads into some situations that directly tie back into this. It's not the world's best scene. It's not the best way to reveal that the police are already onto this guy. They know he's a white male with baby face good looks.
Yeah, one of the things that they talked about in this movie, because they were upset and a lot of people didn't like the point that it was pushing, to stop all criminals, blah, 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 very authoritarian type stuff. Well, one of the notes that I did found, it says, as of the 1971 film was criticized for carrying a authoritarian undertones, the sequels attempted to be more balanced by pitting Harry against villains from a broader ideological spectrum, notably the 1973 Magnum Force, in which Harry is shown fighting vigilantism akin to his own after it goes too far.
Yeah, but we'll have to discuss
It
Magnum
starts
Force
to lean
later.
more left and
We-
less,
You're wrong in that assessment.
to make
You need
make
to watch.
Hollywood. I haven't
totally
seen it
believe-
yet, so I can't wait to
You-
see it. I just want to see if
you-
it does.
You need to see Magnum Force before you make a statement like that, because
Well,
Magnum Force.
that is something I found online. That's why I said I'm going to keep that. I'm not going to get rid of it because I want to see whether or not that happens or not.
I don't think Magnum Force is a movie that is as great as Dirty Harry, but I think there's a lot of things about Magnum Force and the Enforcer that are absolute hallmarks of the cop noir genre,
Mhm.
and we need to discuss those on their own time. We might do a sixth show about the Dirty Harry movies of themselves once we clear the Deadpool, but
Okay.
that's going to be far ahead in the future. I want to hit all the Clint Eastwood major films. I really do. And most of his movies are major movies. So the only thing we're not watching, just so you guys know, we're not going to watch The Beguiled because that movie's kind of a different film than most Clint Eastwood movies.
Mhm.
It's a typical young Clint behavior for little Clint, but we have to watch that during the month of February because of the themes explored in that. And I could really use a good February movie for next year.
Mhm.
I mean, I want to go Black History Month, but the internet's not free yet, and I'd like to have a free internet before I go there.
Well,
I honestly feel that the way that they explore the themes on this movie here, Janet, I don't feel this movie is excessive right leaning or left leaning at all. I feel this movie actually accurately depicts policing. As the years go on, you'll have the pendulum swing more authoritarian, more liberty seeking. You always have that in policing and criminal justice. This is something that always is happening. It never fails. You're going to have a period of time in the 70s when they want to do nothing but coddle the prisoners. There's even a special with George Kennedy talking as an individual wanting to get all the guys out of prison and put them on probation.
mhm.
And then there's going to be years where terrible tragedy happens and the pendulum starts to swing back towards protecting Americans' interests and safety. And we make sure we lock up all the bad guys, death penalty for all. And it never quite gets to that point, which is sad because, like you said, that jackass was in prison for 2 years before anybody found out that he was a FedEx guy.
Mhm.
And he had murdered an 8-year-old girl. And then you and I paid for him, and we also paid for anti-Second Amendment propaganda by our piece of shit government, which has got
Mhm.
hundreds of NGOs out there making sure that this propaganda is spread against our own fucking safety and self-interest. And they're also bringing over millions of undocumented degenerates from other countries
Mhm.
and trying to upset your neighborhoods, which you and your friends have carefully crafted over the generations in your small towns. And they're going to ruin that by trying to force you to live next to savages or people that are from countries that do not share any values that you raise your kids with. And this is what America actually needs. You need to recognize that you guys might have different opinions on policing and law enforcement, but if you want to have these same silly arguments, then you got to keep the savages and the ne'er-do-wells and the degenerates and all of these experiments from the faggot commies, the Alinskyeites. You got to keep the community experiments out of your community. You can't let them come in your community. The moment you do, everything's going to go to hell. The things you love about your town, gone. The fact that you have a hobby store in a 5,000 person community, and if you let the degenerates in, it gets turned into like a education center that gets closed down 2 years later because none of the degenerates want to learn English. They don't want to fucking learn a skill. They
Mhm.
close down your favorite fucking hobby center. They put a guy out of business. They force him into early retirement because he doesn't have the time and money to move his Lionel train set that he's got set up all across the shelves of the store so you can buy scenery for your at-home wargaming or hobby. But then after they've put in this miserable fucking experimental place for the experimental population, which is now a permanent resident population, because they're like a government worker there. You get immigrants in your community that are sponsored by NGOs, and they're just as bad as a government worker. You can't fire them, and they're not going to work. They're not going to be functional for you. So I'm just saying that you need responsibility in your local politics and elections. Attend every election. Make sure you vote each and every time. Stamp the fucking communists out. That's the only thing I can ever tell you and express upon you. Because the moment you let the statists in, the moment you let the Alinskyeites in, that's when your community that you love so much never will be the same again. You're going to have what was once, Joann's grocer and fabric supply gets replaced by a degenerate fucking Dollar General store that sells the worst fatty fucking meat product with carcinogens all up and down there. And RFK trying to shut these things down, not having any headway on it. I've been trying to get rid of Dollar General and Family Dollar, but apparently these things are being funded by the welfare community, which is in turn funded by you, the taxpayer. We're trying to dislodge it, but it's really hard. I did what I could with red number 5. Give me some credit, for fuck's sake. I mean, it's just a shame that the society we want to live in is untenable. I'm okay for diversity. You could be whatever skin color that you were born as. I don't think I want communists in my neighborhood. And we have rules prohibiting communists from taking power on the books from 1952, but not a single fucking senator or House rep wants to talk about that because it's like, a meanie. We need some fucking meanies back in the world.
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about the script and stuff now. Is that okay?
Go ahead, Janet.
Okay. It said, one thing I found, it said the famous line was originally different. The famous line that you were talking about earlier? The script went through a number of rewrites, including being set in New York and Seattle. Originally, the screenplay had Harry pointing the gun at his own head and not at the bank robber on the ground when he does his "I do feel lucky" speech. So I thought that was interesting. And it said the film was mostly shot where it was set. The majority of the film was shot in location in and around San Francisco, and the only scene that wasn't was the bank robbery scene, which was shot on set in Los Angeles. Clint took advantage of this by displaying a movie marquee on the street, advertising his directorial debut, "Play Misty for Me." Did you happen to notice that on the marquee above them?
Yep, I sure did.
I didn't. I missed that. So I thought that was interesting when I was able to find that.
In a lot of movies, you'll have a movie that's set on Main Street, and as you're walking across the street, the director or the DP says, "Hey, I got that actor. Why don't we put one of his movies up on the marquee real quick?" And that's happened in a handful or maybe 10 movies I can think of where that's happened. In the movie Shaft, we saw a ton of films that were popular back in 1970 and 71 put up on the marquees for that film.
Yeah. Also, it says the story was inspired by a real-life serial killer. The story of Dirty Harry was inspired in part by the chilling true crimes of the Zodiac Killer. Based in San Francisco, the Zodiac Killer sent letters to the police threatening to take out a school bus full of kids. Harry is also based on Dave Trisashi, the policeman leading the Zodiac case, as depicted by Mark Ruffalo in David Fincher's Zodiac movie. But the opening shot commemorates a real fallen police officers. So did you know that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I didn't know that either. And it says the film opens on a wall commemorating those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. One of the names shown is Eric A. Zems. Zems was one of the 2 police officers who saw and potentially spoke to the actual Zodiac Killer on the night that the cabbie Paul Stein was murdered on the corner of Washington and Cherry. As depicted in the Fincher film, he was subsequently shot and killed on the 1st of January 1970, around 3 months after the Zodiac incident. So I thought that was interesting, some of the stuff about how when they were rewriting the script over and over again, they were taking different things that Zodiac had done and having him kind of dabble in their serial killer, that he was nuts. And then earlier I was trying to find my notes about why he chose him. It said, let's see, where is it? I thought I had it. Oh, here it is. Siegel, the director, had to set his sights on somewhere else because of the person he thought he was trying to get, that the Murphy guy. Did I talk about that on the lives thing? I haven't, did I?
Not yet. Talk about it now.
Okay, it says the original Scorpio actor died before filming and couldn't start Don Siegel's original choice because the role was a World War II hero turned actor, Audie Murphy.
This is a reminder. Take the trash out.
Why do I have that in here? It's ridiculous. So
This is a
sorry.
reminder. Take the trash out.
I got to take my trash
I don't know
out.
why you have a goddamn list in your.
Because she reminds me of shit just like that.
I'm not.
Okay, that's why. Plus, what am I doing? I have no life. This is my life. This is what I do. I don't go anywhere. I do this. This is my life. So if she wants to record what I'm doing, this shit, good. Have fun. Don't be bored to death. But what I was saying was that Audie Murphy, okay, the actor that he had chose.
But
I didn't hear what you said.
well, I was saying something, but I don't think the internet allowed me to say it. You live in an area that is largely not populated. It's beautiful. If other people want to know where you live, I just say go out to the country. Yes.
Okay. But she reminds me to take up the trash and stuff.
I would just let your nose be tied on that.
All right. Well, the actor Audie Murphy was the guy that the director wanted to play the serial killer. Okay. But he died in a plane crash before he could, accept the role. So Siegel has set his sights elsewhere and saw Andrew Robinson in a play and was struck by his angel-like presence, the way he looked. He just looked very angel-like, like someone who would never, ever suspect as being a serial killer. And that's why he picked him and had him come in to do a reading for the part, and he got it. So he was the guy, and he did a good job playing in that case when he was in that bus and he was tormenting those kids and he slapped that one kid and knocked him back into the seat. I just started bawling. So I wanted him to die. I just wanted him out because I didn't want to see him do stuff like that to kids. And the woman that played the bus driver, that whole scene, the bus driver scene, was my favorite scene in the movie, the most realistic and nail biting scene. It was very, very scary, and it was really horrible. I would not want a young kid to watch that part of the movie because it definitely too dramatic. Even though it was in 1971, it was a very scary scene, and I don't recommend anyone under like 13 years old watching that scene. And plus, there's lots of nudity and, like I said, full frontal boobs and hair and everything for women. So. In the strip areas and stuff, in the seedy sides of town, which is almost the whole city, from what I could tell. It was pretty scary. But I thought that was interesting because a lot of people don't realize that how much the director really is expected to do for a movie. We've done a couple movies where the director didn't really do shit. They were drunk all the time. They stayed in their rooms, and other people were doing most of the work. It was a couple of movies we talked about that. and the movie suffered a little bit because it had misdirection. You know, it really didn't have a lot of it didn't go smoothly because it was all jumbly because the way that it ended up being filmed, because the director was basically not doing their jobs. And this movie, you could definitely tell the director was spot on. I hardly saw anything wrong with this movie, because even though there was a couple of things that I thought were dated, that didn't really go together or stuff, it was still really, really good. It was action packed. It had good story arcs. You had the heads of the police department in the city and the cops butting heads, like real life, that type of stuff. I thought all that was really good. And the action scenes were good, but that's what I was going to say. When he first pulled the gun out to shoot that guy at the bank, I was like, holy shit. That's the biggest gun I've ever seen. I've never, it didn't even look real. It looked like one of those guns that they play with, and the thing comes out and it says bang on it, like a clown would have. That's what it looked like. It looked really heavy. It looked really heavy and clunky. And then he kept telling people when he was going to shoot them that it would take their head clean off. I wish I would love to have seen that last guy that got shot, have his head just not be there. Like from that movie Scanners. That would have been a really good ending for that. It would have been really gory and stuff, but if anyone deserved it, it would have been that guy. Do you agree or not?
All right. It was passable. I didn't notate it for it being there's nothing for me to critique on it. So
but did you think the gun was giant?
No, the gun. Okay. I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 75. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I saw about the 44 Magnum was a TV show called Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer was a fucking amazing show that lampooned the Dirty Harry series. And the main character was a cop. He carried around a 44. And he was a little unhinged. He talked to it like it was a sweet lover. And he loved pulling his gun out. And they had
you can tell.
No. On the show Sledgehammer, they had a policy where he wasn't supposed to shoot people because there was like a bingo card contest or something in the office on who would win from him shooting all these perks.
Yeah.
Sledgehammer was one of the greatest TV shows of all time until the second season. The second season was just shit. But the first season was really good, and it was a Dirty Harry knockoff. But that guy pulled out his gun every episode, and he caressed that thing. He talked to it like it was a sweet baby, and it was just a funny fucking show. When you watch Dirty Harry, when you watch Clint Eastwood remove the prop from his holster, and he's got it that is a big fucking hand cannon. And that was exactly your response, is exactly what they were looking for when this movie came out.
Yeah, it was a massive gun. I mean, and it was loud. Now, I don't know if that was the real gun's noise, but it sounded like a cannon when he shoot it. And then he goes, you're probably wondering the same thing I'm wondering, is if he has any more bullets left in this gun. The whole thing, I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really good, because they're just laying there thinking, I'm not going to do anything because he's going to blow my head off. That's what I was thinking. But it was good. I really liked that whole persona of his character, and the fact that he was trying to rid the streets of these criminals. I really like that whole concept of Dirty Harry. So that, I'm glad I got to watch it and see it myself this time, instead of just bits and pieces through the years, is what basically that I had. So I liked it. Is there anything you wanted to add to what I've already talked about?
I'm currently behind the scenes trying to find something here.
Okay, well, that scene about the bus. Okay, I was giddy. Okay, I did get giddy because when I saw him take the school bus, I was pissed off. Because I don't know why, but what popped in my head, and I don't remember when it happened, but I remember some bad people kidnapping a bunch of kids in a school bus and then burying it in the ground. Do you remember if that was that even America or was that in another country? Do you remember that being on the news?
There's been a couple instances where a bus has been kidnapped. I have something to share with you guys real quick. On your last point about the 44 Magnum, there's a character here on the YouTubes, and he's got a 44.
Is that
right
what he's
here.
holding? It doesn't look so big in his hands.
It's big though. Clint Eastwood's not a big guy. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, he's slim, but man, it looked huge. Or maybe in just the way that they use the camera angles and stuff too.
The camera angles is part of it. It's always the camera's close to the gun.
It just looked like the cannon was like this long on the end of the gun to me. It was so big.
Here we go.
Holy crap! You could hit yourself in the face with it if you don't hold your arms properly.
Okay, there's other videos of people firing a 44, and it literally comes back after they fucking discharge it, and it gives them a fucking cut on the forehead.
Yeah, I've seen somebody hit themselves right in the bridge of their nose and break their nose, and then the nose just starts pouring blood. I don't know what kind of gun it was, but it was pretty big, and it was a woman. I saw a woman shooting a gun. I was like, oh, thank God.
So Six Nations says the Chowchilla kidnapping is what you're referencing, I think.
Oh, is that what it was? I just remember how horrible that was, and watching it on the news, and all the parents crying and stuff, and the thought that that they buried that school bus underground. That was just horrible. That was so horrible. Yeah. And that was, I don't know. It just really, I just was airing a bunch of that stuff about that whole trial for that guy to get the death penalty. But now we'll have to wait like 20 years before they finally do anything with him. But that maybe that's why this whole thing with the kids and everything I was so emotional over it, because it was so, real. It was so realistic and scary. And the thought that I just don't feel like I don't think the victims in our country get justice. I just don't. I think because we are wanting to raise our families and we're trying to follow the law and we're trying to pay our bills and, do the right things, we're just always put to the back burner. And if you're a criminal and you cry and moan and stuff, you get out and then you can go to Walmart and just stab a kid while they're in their grocery cart with their mother, stuff like that. I've seen so many horrible, terrible things like that, and they do it multiple times, and they just keep getting right back out on the street again. And to me, I think we should start holding the judges accountable for when they let these criminals out back on the street and they hurt other people. I would sue the shit out of that judge and take their home, take everything they have, so they would never be able to do that to another family.
It would be nuts if we could hold judges accountable for that.
That's what I think we should do, because they should be thinking about. They should look at every face that comes in their courtroom as a victim and see those victims and think about that being their own mother or their own sister or their own child, and look at them that way. If they start treating them as human beings with feelings and that they have a right for justice, and stop looking at every criminal like, oh, his mom drank alcohol when she was pregnant, so that's why he's doing it now. And stuff like that. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. It's gotten so stupid. And the fact that that's why I was looking at the political stuff so much about this movie and the stink that it was getting, from Hollywood. Half these actors didn't want to be in the movie, and they didn't want to do anything with it because of the political leaning, because it was a conservative movie, which is sad, because conservatives are the only ones that want to stop criminals. Is that basically why they didn't want to be in a movie like that? You know what I mean? That's sad to say that. And that was in 1971. So it hasn't gotten any better. The cities definitely have not gotten any better since this movie was made, by the way that the Hollywood and stuff leans towards the criminals. They're the victims. The victims, oh, well, you shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't be in your own house sleeping when these criminals want to come in there and take stuff. It's just stupid. just all of it's stupid. And this just put a big neon sign for it for me when I watched it. And I was thankful. I wish there was more Dirty Harrys in the police forces. Honestly, it would be really good. I think it would help us a lot if we had more. That's why that one sheriff, isn't he in Florida? The one that does a video showing the stupid criminal of the day and stuff. And I just love that guy. I wish we had more sheriffs. And then there's another sheriff, I think it's in Vegas, and he makes all the prisoners' clothes pink. And they have to wear pink, and they go out and work the picking up trash and doing all that stuff, and they have to wear pink because that's what the sheriff wants. It's a humiliation type thing to try to train people not want to come back to prison, But I've talked to many guys that have been arrested multiple times, and a couple of them told me that was their retirement plan. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, well, when I need my teeth done or I need surgery or whatever, I just go, hold up a gas station or whatever. I get arrested. I go to jail. I get all my teeth fixed and, have surgery or whatever I need done. And then I stay in there until I, get healthy again or whatever. I try to quit smoking, try to do stuff like that. And then he gets out and he gets a job and he does fine until he's sick again. And then he does something else. And that's pretty pathetic, Just like, we see people do the same thing with food stamps or other things. They get the stuff and then they use it to get nails done and tattoos. And, instead of using it for what it's supposed to be used for, these criminals figure out ways to buck the system, You can go to prison now and be on death row and have a whole family. And your family's paid for by the taxpayers. Because you can have sex in prison and have your wife bring the kids to come visit you. And she's happy as a lark because she knows you're not cheating on her because you're in prison. It's just pathetic, the whole thing. It's really scary. I'm sorry I went off on that, but, all this stuff came up when I started looking up, the political aspects of the hate that a lot of people from Hollywood had for a Dirty Harry movie. And I could see why it was so popular. Because everyday people like us that want justice in their cities and towns would love this movie, That's him, Sheriff Grady, right? Sheriff Grady or whatever.
Believe this. So we put everybody scanner, make sure that they're not trying to bring guns and knives and drugs into. Well, you might have thought Walter was bringing drugs into the jail. He brought a thermos into the jail. That's right. He put it up the exit ramp. You know what I mean? A thermos. About this size. No, it wasn't this one.
This guy here, obviously he must have hit one too many people as a linebacker because his brain cells are scrambled.
But here's one thing I know for sure. The boyfriend can date all the girls he wants to right now because she's locked up in jail and can't get to a car to run over anybody. Now this is Epcar's picture of Jennifer, and this is what you look like after you've been investigated by the sheriff's office for a couple of years. She needs to sit in jail. She's a thief. She's a con. She's a crook. Let me say that again for that board of directors that had their head up their butt and didn't do what was right. She's a crook, she's a thief, she's a con.
Now I want you to think about this a minute, okay? You decide that you're going to hook up with a woman. She comes in and she's already uglier than a mud fence, right?
Look at his,
and then as you start
him.
To engage, you find out, hey, this dudette is a dude and look what he really looks like. Yeah, he looks like he should have been in a Scarface movie someplace. I don't know.
I love this guy.
When you find him in the bar at night.
Would you vote for him?
You try to drink and you wake up the next morning and you see this. Yeah, that's what we call Rolex ugly. Rolex ugly is you wake up the next morning.
Look at the guy back
and you're
there.
laying on your arm and you're there and you just chew your arm off and leave the Rolex. You just got to get out of there.
Hey, go. Things not gonna end well if the lawsuit doesn't stop.
you know it needs to drop the lawsuit. All right, well. So at that time, John and RJ, who by the conversation said, are you threatening us? Are you threatening us? Hey, I've run the streets of Chicago. I can just tell you, this may not end well. So that was the end of the phone call.
Things you just can't make up. And you think after a while people will figure it out. Not that there are cell phones every place and cameras every place. This guy used his own cell phone to send himself to the county jail. He picks up 9 baseball caps, 9 hats. And he starts to leave, and they go, whoa, time out. You need to pay for those hats. He says, I'm not going to pay for them. And he strolls out of the store with his 9 hats, $153 worth. So they notify the absolute best deputies in the entire world, and one of them shows up. And while we're taking a report, he comes back to apologize for stealing their hats and says, I got the 9 hats. I'll bring them back to you. Well, that's good. We recovered the 9 hats, but too late. Got to go to jail. 9 hats? What are you going to do with 9 hats? Obviously, he stole one for each marble he has for a brain. You're not going to believe this. Because someone broke into the Polk City Sheriff's Station. That's right.
You'll need to unlock your iPad first.
They stole my picture. So he used his McPhone to make a McThreat to McDonald's, his actual phone number. So it was a slow McPitch for us to make a McRest. We went to his house and he said, yeah, I made the McPhone calls to McDonald's because I didn't get my McNuggets. You see why I call him a McNut? Anyway, he's in the McJail. Oh, the Polk County Jail. He was bizarre. Our deputies, by the way, are going home safe tonight. Let me make this abundantly clear. You're not going to shoot at our deputies. You're not going to point guns at our deputies. You're not going to point garden shears at our deputies. You're not going to break into the car and try to get their rifles. You're not going to assault feloniously our deputies. You're just not going to do that. And if you do, we're going to shoot you. Just enough so that you don't want to ever do that again or can't do that ever again.
One of the best sheriffs ever to have the job.
Mm-hmm. We
Sheriff
have a
Grady
few.
Judd.
Yeah, Grady Judd. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a fucking hero. He's a unit. He is a force of law. Do not fuck with him or his precinct, because you will become a joke. And he'll drop some bars about your ass, too.
The thing is,
made
if we
songs
had
about-
someone like that, that ran for office in like Illinois or Colorado or Arizona or California, he would be ran out of town. They'd tar and feather him if he did stuff like he did what we just watched. Real criminals that have real evidence. And the sad thing is that when you get him before the judge just kind of goes, well, you've been in jail for 30 days. I think that's enough. Shit like that. That's the problem. But I wanted to read this thing I found. It says,
you're seeing Janet's weather situation deteriorate.
do what?
Janet, your weather's starting to go bad, isn't it? Your weather's starting to go to shit.
Am I
isn't it?
breaking up? Am I breaking up?
Okay. You are.
Am I breaking up? You can't hear me?
Yes. We can
hear me now?
See you, but then you pause. I can hear
I'm
you
sorry.
now, but you're just unstable.
Yeah, I wanted to read something, though. It said, Eastwood and Siegel disagreed on the final moments of the film. Did you read that? It says that Siegel wanted Harry to throw his badge into the river, and Clint didn't like it because he felt that it was signified that he was quitting the force. Siegel argued that it signified Harry's frustration on the system and that seemed to get in the way of him doing his job. They compromised, but agreeing that Harry would go throw the badge before thinking twice and putting it back in his pocket. When it came to filming the scene, Clint came around to Siegel a way of thinking, and the scene was a reference to a similar moment in High Noon from 1952. So I thought that was interesting because remember, he didn't throw his badge. He only threw away the star part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So he threw away half of it, basically. But what I was talking about earlier was the one scene that I really loved was you see the guy kidnap all those kids. And then after all that shit that he just went through with the other thing and them telling them they had to let the guy back out and all this shit because they didn't have enough evidence because he took the rifle from the guy's apartment without a warrant, all that kind of shit. So when they said, are you going to go and do something about him taking that bus full of kids? And he goes, you find someone else to do it. I'm done or whatever. And he left. He walked out. So you just see him just stand there. They didn't know what they're going to do now because they got the dirty guy, Dirty Harry isn't going to be the dirty guy for him. That kind of thing. Because I kind of like that, but I felt bad for the kids. But then you see the bus coming down that windy road with all the little trees down it. And all of a sudden, out the window, you see someone standing on the trestle from the tracks that go over the road from the bridge, which is for railroad tracks. And you see that it's him. It's Dirty Harry standing there with his suit on, and he's just standing there waiting because he knows he's going to turn down that road. I don't know how he knew that, but all of a sudden a Volkswagen Beetle turns in front of the bus and the bus turns underneath the bridge. And then when it goes under, Dirty Harry jumps on top of it. And when the bad guy realizes that Dirty Harry's on top of the bus, he starts shooting his it looked like one of these kind of guns, had this style. He starts shooting holes through the roof, and you see Dirty Harry rolling around trying not to get shot. And all the kids are screaming, and I'm already crying because I already felt bad because he hit that little boy in the face. I just wanted to get him. But then you see him crash the bus gets crashed, and the bad guy gets up and he runs through this like sawmill or something, or feed mill or something like that, and he runs out and he sees a little boy fishing on a little dock by the river, and I'm like, oh no, kid, run. I was yelling, and he runs over and he grabs the kid and he puts a gun up to his head and tells him not, to back off or I'll shoot him in the head or whatever. And he knows he will because the guy's nuts. He's already killed other people. So he starts to lower his gun, go down, and it's huge, massive gun. And then he brings it back up really quick and he shoots anyways. And thank God the kid was smart and the kid just took off running away from the dead guy or the guy that was injured. And he's laying there on the ground crying and whining about him being shot. It was great. That was a really, really good. That was the best. That whole scene right there with the bus driver and the kids were such good little actresses and actors. And the bus driver, she was really good. She was a really good actress. And that was a very intense scene, that whole scene with all those kids. And she was very believable, the woman that played the bus driver. And I thought it was great. I thought it was a really good scene. But Clint Eastwood did that stunt himself. He jumped off that onto the back of the bus. He really did that.
Mm-hmm. It reminded me of this scene here in Where Eagles Dare, another Clint Eastwood film. But there's
I haven't seen this one.
Where, yes, you have. We watched it 3 years ago.
We did watch it? I don't remember that scene.
We watched this movie. It just reminded me of that scene right there. He goes up to fight him. It doesn't really come out well, but
the thing that would bother me with that whole thing right there, when you're shooting through a bus, okay, that there's going to be like a skeleton in it, made of metal for support. But that thing that when he was shooting through that, it looked like it would be a lot thicker because that's how the whole thing is carried by the weight, right? I would have been afraid that the bullet would be ricocheting all inside of that if I was to shoot, my pistol inside.
I have no idea, Janet. I've never had to worry about shooting a
Well, I
bullet
shot
through a cable car.
my pistol in the back of my chicken coop. Remember, I thought I lost my hearing. My
I
right
remember
ear.
that. You were very quiet.
Yeah, I couldn't hear. All I heard was for almost a whole week in my
I
right
didn't
ear.
hear you. What'd you say, hon? I'm sorry. It's really hard to do these tinnitus jokes. Okay, so for everything in this movie that you've seen here today,
Mm-hmm.
are you interested in watching the other Dirty Harry movies?
Yes, I want to watch all of them. I thought this was really good. I liked the fact that it was, cops doing a good job trying to get the bad guys. I like that. That's why I love superheroes.
Because I watched this part of this movie. I watched I skipped around about 2 years ago when I was with Nick Weiser and his Toxic Men,
Mm-hmm.
and we watched this and Magnum Force within like quick order. But I had things pop up, new job,
Mm-hmm.
and Magnum Force I felt was just as good of a movie because I'd seen them 1 week after each other. So I'm probably going to go on a small quest to watch these two movies or watch all 5 of these movies within a week. Because
Oh, I thought we were going to watch them.
We are, but
You're going to watch them in advance.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I'll have to watch them. So I'll
But the thing is, the reason why I want to do that, Janet, is because the reason why I want to do this is I want to do a control experiment where do these 5 movies stand up as a one after another anthology, or do they work better as a movie that you watch one, wait a month or two, watch this one, wait a month.
It wouldn't be a month; it would only be a week. It'd still be in order. So I don't understand, watching them all in one.
The reason why is that I've never watched all 5. This is the second time I've watched Dirty Harry from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie's 54, 55 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good movie. But it also makes me wonder, because when I watch Magnum Force and Hal Jordan's in that, and that's such a good movie. There's a lot about that movie I can't wait to talk about. So, okay, I'll concede this with you. We'll watch all 5 Dirty Harry films over the next 4 weeks. We'll cover the other 4.
Okay.
But then we'll come back in a month and we'll watch Joe Kidd. Because I think Joe Kidd, from what I remember, that movie was really fucking good. It was a Western, but it was set at a different time frame than most Westerns. I believe it's like
I haven't seen it yet.
There's a lot of movies that we talk about on this channel, but it is my channel, where you haven't seen them yet. And 80% of the time you have a favorable review for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's sometimes where you surprise me and you're like, and I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Just a few where I didn't like it as much as I wanted to.
But this movie I feel is really special because this movie has been an inspiration for so many of my friends and people that I know, and individuals like Sheriff Grady Judge, where if you were to talk to them about this film, they would say this was one of the reasons why they got into one of 2 things: either they went into policing or they became an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie paves the way for both. And I think this is a fantastic film. But I'll give it up to you if you want to watch the next 4 Dirty Harry movies or the next 4 weeks. I'm okay with it.
I thought that's what we were doing.
Yeah, that's what we just agreed upon in the next minute or last minute.
Well, why would we not watch one after the other? I mean, I don't understand. Is it because there's years between the movies or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's 2 years between Magnum Force and Dirty Harry. There's
Okay.
3 or 4 years between Magnum Force and the Enforcer. I forget what the fourth one's called. High Impact, Sudden Impact. There's a lot of years between that one,
Uh-huh.
and then you have like from 83 to 88 is the span from there to Deadpool. And Deadpool is the one that has Jim Carrey in it because I think
I
Axl
haven't
Rose.
seen that one either. I don't remember Jim Carrey being in it, so that's why I don't.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't play Jim Carrey; he plays somebody else. He's not the Jim Carrey you and I know. He's the Jim Carrey that's there just to collect a check, and he does a
No,
good
but is
job.
it Jim Carrey, the guy from Ace Ventura: Pet Detective?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, no,
I believe Jim
actor.
Carrey.
I haven't seen that
Deadpool.
actor in a Dirty Harry movie. So that's what I'm saying.
He's not the typical guy that you see in a Jim Carrey acting role. He's playing somebody else. He's just paying a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's doing. He does a good job in this movie, but he's paying a mortgage. But I want to see these films, and I almost want to see them like over the next 2 days, because I want to see how well they hold up, like as a synopsium over like this guy's career, or is it better off not to watch them all at one time? And that was the Control Experiment. But nope, Janet wants to watch all
Well,
these together.
have you seen them before?
I've seen the Deadpool probably 5 or 6 times.
Okay, but have you
seen
seen
Magnum
any of
Force
the other
once.
Dirty Harry movies?
I watched Magnum Force one time right before we did the review for Nick Weiser's channel,
Mm-hmm.
and my rating on that was really favorable
Okay.
because Harry's character comes out so well in it, and there's a lot of people that they don't understand policing. They don't. They think policing is an emotional matter, and it should be handled with emotions, and they're just dumb. Like people that are typically on the interwebs talking about policing, oftentimes they have all the reasonability as the following.
It sounds like little kids.
And that's exactly what it sounds like when somebody's bitching about cops.
Oh,
That's what I hear every time I hear some
I never
pile
heard,
of shit.
I didn't know they made noise like that in real life.
When I hear people bitching about the police, that koala sound is exactly what I fucking hear.
They're cute.
That's all I ever hear nowadays. Donut operator has touched me in the earlobe, and I cannot be any more sympathetic, give a fuck about people who complain about police, because there's a way to handle cops. There's a way to handle law enforcement. They're a tool. You use them, but if you don't need them around, you don't fucking utter a goddamn word to them. There's a funny movie called Hot Fuzz, but in that movie, there's a very important lesson that too many people overlook. They just think it's part of the comedy. And they're talking to this guy, and he says, "I don't answer questions." And so they ask him another question. "I don't answer questions." And so they ask him a third, fourth, fifth time. "I don't answer questions." That's how you should talk to cops. If you don't need them around, fucking don't give them anything to fucking write you up on anything on. Cops are a tool. That's one tool you don't want to have hanging out at your house all the time. You don't want them to see your fucking goon stash of Janet and her various outfits. You don't want them to see your fucking collection of craftsman tools and high impact drills. You don't want them to see your fucking hobbies. You want them kind of away from you. They're good to have in a neighborhood, but not as your next door neighbor. You don't. They're because everything they do, they have to be accountable for. Therefore, your only interactions you want with them are, "Hi, officer, excuse me," and you try to have to move around them. The moment they're interested in you and detaining you and asking you about certain events, your motives, that's where things have gone wrong for you.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, you shouldn't fucking talk to them. They're not your buddies. They're not your pals. They're not somebody you want around. They're cops. They're a fucking tool. That's it. And I know that sounds to be dehumanizing. And some of you may have relatives that are cops or whatever. I don't care. I don't like I have an emotional coupling towards the shit I'll take in an hour and a half more than I care about your feelings about your cop friends or relatives. I think cops are okay. They're necessary in a society. But the way that we have things set up right now, I don't really need them around me unless I actually need one around me. I called them 3 times last year to help me, actually in January too, in order for me to get access to my apartment, which I was paying for, because a certain someone was acting like a little koala.
Yeah, but sometimes, just like we were talking about, the cop isn't the one that's the problem. It's the bosses over the cops that won't let the cops do their jobs, even though the cop is the one that's going to go out on the street and get shot trying to do their job. But the person above them that's saying, no, you can't do that. You can't have a gun. You have to have a taser, blah, 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 and putting them at risk.
Oh, that's why I had my explosion of thought earlier.
Yeah.
Where you need to be involved with your local elections. And you're talking about the DA. Atypically, it's a district attorney that's a piece of shit that's ruining your local police culture.
Yes.
And if you don't understand that, then I can't really help you.
Yeah, because a lot of the things when I was looking up the movie, I was shocked because I didn't realize that there were so many people that were so anal about the movie just because of the way it portrayed cops trying to do their job and take out criminals. Okay. Because it says here, the film courted controversy upon release. When Dirty Harry was released, it was greeted with controversy towards its political stance. Why is it a political stance one way or the other when you want to stop crime? See, that's what I don't understand. You either want to coddle prisoners or you want the people, which are the victims and people that pay their taxes and want a safe place to raise their kids. You either want them to have a safe place to live or you want the criminals to be able to have chaos. I mean, why is that a political stance? That's one of the reasons why I was like, what the hell? And it said at 1972 Academy Award ceremony, a feminist group protested outside holding up banners that read, Dirty Harry is a rotten pig. Jesus. And just like I said, also the guy that played the serial killer in this movie did such a good job that he was getting death threats and had to change his phone number because people wanted to kill him. And he was just an actor portraying a serial killer. So, wow, it's a lot of psychos out there, that don't believe in people having the right to, they think they have the right to be out there protesting, but they don't think that you have the right to defend yourself in your own home. That's what I don't understand. It's like, it's okay for me, but not for me. It's just sickening. Sorry. Wasn't trying to go on a rant or anything.
No, I mean,
it's just, to me,
it's okay.
I don't understand it.
Other
but
people
the movie
don't
was
concern
great.
me. Like I said, what would you rate the movie, Janet?
Well, honestly, it was way better than I expected because remember the last what was it? There was 1 or 2 movies that I had a hard time with Clint because of his character. I felt like he was pushy, male chauvinistic, and all that kind of stuff. This one, I didn't think that at all. They gave him an actual role that I looked up to because this was a man who was a cop. He was trying to be a good cop. He wasn't dirty. He didn't take money. He didn't take bribes. He didn't do anything like that. He was trying to clean up his city that he lived in and that he lost his wife in. Right. And he wanted to make it better. He wanted to make it a better place to live for the people. Because when he looked around the city, he sells strip bars and stuff. But as long as they stayed where they were supposed to, he didn't have a problem with it. Because he didn't have a problem with people living their lives. If you're an adult and you want to be in a strip bar, you should have the right to do it as long as you're not breaking the law. See, that's what I didn't understand about people being upset about it because he was doing that. He was keeping the people that wanted to go to that strip bar or other bars to drink and party safe from criminals that want to rob them or kill them or rape them when they leave. See? And I think that's great. That's what everyone should want. But he also wanted to keep the grocery store down the road safe so that mom and her kids could go there and go shopping and not get robbed or have their car stolen or be assaulted while they were going to their vehicle. See, that's what a cop is supposed to be. And he was a detective. He wasn't just a police officer. But when he was sitting in that diner and he was eating and he said, call the police department, here's the number, and tell them that there's a whatever in progress, because he would see that they were pulling in to rob this bank. But then he didn't get the chance to wait on them because then he realized that they were about to leave after they'd robbed. So he got out and ran across the street to defend the bank. Even though he's a detective and he's supposed to solve crimes, he was trying to stop a crime because he was seeing it happening right in front of him. So to me, that is a real, true patriot that's trying to do a good job and protect his city, protect his people, So I would give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was really good. There was a few things that I didn't understand. They kind of didn't go together, but I thought the music was good. I thought the script was good. The character arcs were phenomenal. I absolutely loved all the kids. They were good actors. The direction from the director made a very believable, emotional scene, especially with the look on the serial killer's face and the happiness on the face of the woman when she realized there was someone on the bridge, that might be able to help them. And the serial killer seeing someone on the bridge, the fear on his face, knowing it was the same guy that had already tried to kill him before. So I just love that whole scene. Was so intense. It was a phenomenal scene. It was my favorite scene. I don't know. You never did really tell me what you thought about that scene, but the whole thing leading up to the end where he takes that little boy that's fishing, that from that moment he took that bus until the end of that was like nail biting. I was on the edge of my seat, sweating like a pig, and I was crying already because of the little boy being hit in the bus, because I really felt emotional over all the kids on that bus and that poor bus driver that was trying to do the best she could to keep those kids safe. But, you can only do so much when someone's got a gun pointed at your head, But it was really good to see Dirty Harry take care of that guy and clean that mess up. And it was really nice to see that little boy be able to get away and run because he had common sense. So, there's still hope for the future. So that's how I look at it. But yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was really good. And I recommend everyone.
We are in concordance.
Do what?
We're in concordance with each other, actually.
Really? Because I've never seen this before. Now I have seen bits and pieces of it, but once you showed me some of the stuff from the deal, I was like, I haven't seen this one. I haven't seen this movie. This isn't the one I thought it was. Even though the movie's Dirty Harry, I thought his name was Dirty Harry. So he's probably in another movie where someone calls him Dirty Harry, because I remember someone calling him Dirty Harry in the movie and I think it's that one that you were talking about, the next one. I think it's the next one, but I'll have to see the trailer and be able to tell you if it's that one or not. Because I've only seen one. I didn't know there was 5. But I thought it was really good. And I wish there was more movies like this one. Because when you go to a movie, you should want the bad guys to lose. You know what I mean? That's the movies that I think that have made big money, that have been box offices smashes, are movies where the heroes win, that the parents get their kid back. Good stuff happens in movies that are hits. They have happy endings, and that's I really like this one because of the ending for that whole thing. It ended up the way some bad things happen in this movie, but I like that the character arcs all happen. And good is prevails. I really like that aspect. That's one of the things I really love. Even though there wasn't a romance thing in this movie, there was a little bit of one between his partner and his wife, where you see that they're struggling, you know, to stay as a couple, and how she's worried because she loves her husband and doesn't want to see him die. So you get that little aspect of behind the scenes of what it's like to be a cop. And I like that. I thought it was a very believable part for the characters, and I thought they did really good at getting actors and actresses to portray the characters that you actually cared about. You know what I mean? And that's really hard, especially in such a fast-paced movie. You did care about him. You know, you wanted him. And when he was getting the crap beat out of him next to that cross, I didn't know if he was going to end up in the hospital or not, because I thought for sure he was going to get punctured lungs and stuff like that, or his friend was going to be killed. You know, his partner. So I thought it was great. I thought it was a really, really good movie, and I recommend people watch it. But I don't recommend anyone under the age of 13 watching it, even though it's from 1971. To me, it's very realistic and very graphic, especially with the full frontal nudity, which I know all teenage boys are going to want to watch. But the scenes with the school bus and stuff, definitely not something I would want my kids to watch under 13, for sure.
I honestly feel that this film sets the standard for police procedural shows, and it has been a hallmark of the community, of those that do like investigative or policing style fiction. I think this is probably the high watermark for the series, according to IMDb, but we're going to discover that next week when we watch part 2, Magnum Force. The parts about this movie that I really felt were the strongest are what Janet has already expressed. The scene starting with the school bus, and from there on out, this movie just completely keeps you riveted in your seat, and you're there watching. You're enjoying the show, and you're seeing Callahan come into his own after some office struggles, the problems that him and John Vernon have. Vernon, I think, is one of the best character actors in the 70s. He everything that he is in, he has a hard time not stealing. I feel that he plays such a strong character in this movie. A very soft soul, a very soft shoe, not a sugar shoe, but he is a very much an individual that he believes that every movement he takes, he has to weigh against how he's going to be perceived, because he's literally a politician in the 1970s, and that's exactly how her self-perception is. And it's kind of funny to have him in the same room with Clint Eastwood discussing things, and Clint Eastwood just hands him all the shit. Just, here it is. It's not on a silver platter, but here's the answers you're looking for. And John Vernon's like, I think he might be right. You know, I think his character's reaction to Callahan is perfect. But this movie has a lot going for it. If you are interested in policing, if you're a young person, this movie is a fantastic way for you to identify with the people who will be judging your entrance exams, because they know that there's going to be hotheads going in to get their badge and try to start a career and maybe be some hotshot on the streets. Watch this film. Watch this movie. Look at the lessons it teaches. Look at the patience exhibited by the police. Look at how Clint interacts with his friends and his peers, and how he navigates office politics throughout all 5 movies. I think this movie does a great job. You have a wonderful anti-hero that this movie basically starts the entire anti-hero series. And I want to say this movie helped inspire a lot of writers for the DC Comics Batman character. You'll especially see that in Magnum Force. Magnum Force has an underlying message that those of you that love Bruce Wayne are going to see that, and you're going to be like, fuck! Because it does a great job of displaying to you where the follies of policing are at.
Can I ask you something about that? Is that, you talking about the Detective Batman comic books?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have a couple of those. Now that you said that, you know what I mean? I haven't seen this before. I can see that because I like the Detective Comics, Batman comics. I like the way he goes at the story, and it gives you an idea of what it takes to solve those type of crimes. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
With real detective work, not just flying around and seeing through walls and have supersonic hearing and stuff like
Punching
that.
the Joker,
Yeah,
episode 30. It's not that.
yeah, I
It's
know, but
not
it's
that.
good. I can see it. I because I hadn't seen this before, but when you said that, I was like, God, now that I think about it, it makes sense. I can see how that could unfold from that movie. And it was rewritten so many times. So it took a lot of minds to come up with um, it to come up with the character and stuff, but it took Clint Eastwood to make the character
Mhm.
because he made it him. You see what I mean? It made that character his. And I honestly, I don't know. I have to see the second one, but I think after I see the second movie, I don't see anyone else being able to portray that character. Even his son, I don't think would be able to step in his shoes and be his persona. You see
Yeah,
what I mean?
I just watched a film with this guy with Scott Eastwood.
Hmm. He's a good actor. I've seen him in a couple of things, but I just don't think he's not Clint. Let's put it that way.
No, he's nowhere near Clint, and that is the sad thing. He's he's like Clint, but he could not save the movie Pacific Rim Uprising. And I've been on a kaiju Jagger kick lately, watching a bunch of shorts of the Pacific Rim movie and remembering that. I've got the DVD right over there, but I really enjoyed the movie in theaters, and since then I haven't really had the same joy watching it because it's a one-time watch film, and I hate to say that, but then the sequel came out, and then you watch the first movie again, and the first movie is Shakespeare compared to the second. The second movie is
Oh,
terrible, and primarily that's all fault of the director. But Eastwood's son Scott is in this movie. He plays a fairly likable character, but he's just kind of forgettable. Whereas in a lot of the movies we watch with Clint, if Clint's invested in the movie, he makes it a masterpiece. Uh, Two Mules for Sister Sarah, good film. Hang 'em High, no, not so much. And I hate being a dick like that, but
well, it's
that's
not really
just
a
kind of
dick,
how
but you
I
got to
feel.
realize too that I could see since you got me to watch these movies the way that we're watching them as he's learning acting and
Mhm.
how he's learning directing and producing as he's gone along. I can definitely see each movie that
An
I've seen
improvement.
him improving in the
Yeah,
different aspects. I
he's
mean, after
improving at a
seeing
fast
Misty,
rate.
yeah, play Misty for me, to see him as a director, I can see small little things that he worked on since that. Because remember, he did do some direction in this movie too, the whole jumper
Mhm.
scene. And he was given 6 days to make that one scene for the movie, which was really good and had a lot of people in it because you could see all the extras and stuff that were on the street and the height differences and stuff like that. And then him being up on the ladder himself and stuff like that with the actor, and then having the actor jump onto the ladder, because he's pissed off, all that stuff, and he did it in one night. So that's just like I said, it's really hard for a, a director to be good enough to direct and expect something from his people and to get it done. Come on, I want it done. I no bullshit, no goofing off. Let's just get in there and just do this. Period. And then I would love to be able to have seen some behind the scenes, some of this as he get more and more into his directions, him directing movies. I would like to see how he is because I guarantee he's hands on with his actors, and he'll go up to him after he's done a couple shots, looking through the camera and saying, "Try this, that, and the other," or ad lib. I liked it when you made this line up, or like he's very verbal. I can see that. I haven't seen it, but I'm saying in my mind, I can see that he's very hands-on as a director. And I think that that's why he's done so well with certain directors himself, is because they're a lot like that. And he likes that. He likes the personal touch when a director does that with him. I think that's why he did so well. Because remember, I said I was shocked how good that one spaghetti western was, because nobody spoke English except for him. Basically, everything else was second for them. He had to basically read the script and do all the stuff without direction. Except for the hands-on, the director come and do certain things, and he spoke a little English, but they did a great job putting it together because you had a good director that was hands-on with the other actors, even though all of them didn't speak English. Stuff like that. You can tell you got a good director. And I think that Clint, not just being an actor, he watched and observed and learned and tried to watch and see what other people were doing and take what he thought was the best from each of the things that he worked on. And I can see it putting that in Play Misty for me, and now him doing it also in this movie.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with Clint's movies. As time has gone on, they seem to be getting progressively better and better. Like I said, Hang 'Em High is my low point, but this film here, this is a special spot for me. I'm giving it a 90 out of 100. This is one of the better films of the culture of police procedural, of police movies in general. Very rarely do you have a film that exceeds the ceiling for this. Like I said, it's not a movie that I watch each and every time I see it on TV, or if I see it nearby, oh, it's on streaming for this, it's on right now. I don't usually just jump right over to it. This is not Die Hard. This is not Aliens. This is not Predator. And this is certainly not Big Trouble in Little China. But this is a fantastic movie. And it's been used so much as a point of origin for how other writers portray their seedy cities, how the anti-hero writers go about getting the perspective built so you can insert yourself in the character's shoes. This movie is used part and parcel throughout media, and there's nothing wrong with it. This is a classic movie for a lot of good reasons. There are some people out there that they try to shy away from mainstream things, or they try to stay away from the popular thing, and that's okay, because there is a need for indie things out there. There is. But there's also a huge need for, when you want to make money, you got to go where the popular shit's at. And starting off with a film that's roots are in Dirty Harry Callahan's groove and going from there, you are going to probably have a winner. I recommend anybody who likes films to see this movie. I recommend, if you haven't seen it lately, it's a good time to put it on. You can find it almost anywhere on the internet if you just know how to use a Bing or Google search and look for videos, because there's going to be one that pops up that's going to be an hour and 42 minutes long, and it's going to be this film. And this movie is fantastic. This is a great way to spend watching, see how people interacted with each other, the police interactions with each other. That was not just how police interact with each other. That was how everybody talked to each other back then. If you are having a hard time with that, you need to watch some early 1970s, late 1960s TV. It is out there. It will probably hurt you to hear some of the language used, but it will be for your betterment, because not always have we had a society that was afraid to offend so many soft-skinned people. We are going to fail as a nation if we don't grab our balls again someday. Having your kids watch this film would be a good step in that direction. Janet, finish us off.
Well, I 100% agree with you, believe it or not. I really do believe that we need more movies like this for dads to take their boys to, because we are in a crisis, I believe, when it comes to the police officers. We have really good police officers, like what you showed with the sheriff earlier and his deputies. they put their lives at risk every day. They get behind the wheel and they pull a car over, not knowing whether or not when they walk up that they're going to be shot because these people have drugs or they're kidnapping someone or whatever is going on. And we, the people, need to, defend our police officers. And when lights come on behind you, pull over. Yeah, it might piss you off that you get a ticket, but the thing is, that's what you pay taxes for, because you getting pulled over for speeding is going to keep you, hopefully, make you think about slowing down and maybe not getting in an accident because you're going too fast and you slam into someone else. That's innocent. That isn't speeding. So we have laws to protect all of us, not just you or not just that person, everyone. And if we can't let our police officers do their job, then we're lost as a society. And a kid needs to grow up and respect officers. When the cops come to the schools and teach kids about stranger danger or different things like that, we should be thankful that we have that. I've seen a couple police officers come in and actually do CPR on someone at a grocery store while they're waiting for the ambulance to come, to help them. Things like that. So cops do a lot. They go above and beyond. And yeah, I'm not saying there aren't bad cops, because there are. There are bad police officers. There's bad nurses. There's bad doctors. There's bad people in everything. In every church, you got criminals. Criminals are everywhere. That's why we need police officers. That's why we need detectives. That's why we need FBI, because we need authorities to help us protect ourselves in our cities, because we need a safe place to live and raise our kids. But I like it. I think it's great. I think we should start our kids at home realizing that if a cop stops you, stop. Say yes, sir, no, sir. Answer their questions. And if you feel like it's getting to be too much, say, well, I'm not going to say anything else until my parents are here. And that's it. And just sit down. But don't be disrespectful and say, shut the fuck up and blah, blah, blah and shit like that. Just sit down and shut up.
I know a kid that did that.
My ass. If they ever disrespected a police officer, I never did. I mean, I never had any kind of bad thing like that happen. But
So I know a kid that he decided that he was going to be drunk and crossfaded, and he decided that he would go out with his truck, and then he got pulled over.
Mhm.
Mind you, this same child has an uncle on the local force. An uncle on a local force. Now, the uncle is not exactly like he's not a bad cop, but he's like most stereotypical cops, where like he's got a wife and a girlfriend and another girlfriend and another girlfriend. Just, he has them in different zip codes. You spread them out a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's pulled over and gets into it with one cop. But before he does that, the cop radios, I need help with this guy. The young kid, 17 years old, gets in a fight with 3 cops. Breaks one's jaw. So he goes off and he's getting ready to get sentenced. I know this situation a little too well. It's kind of close to me. I know the cop that is his uncle. I know his father. And I'm kind of confused, but he's been raised around cops all his life, hasn't he? Didn't he know if he didn't agree with the ticket that he was about to get, he could go to court and face it and fight it with the judge? Because that's the entire thing. You get pulled over, you don't want to fuck with the cop. The cop's just a putz that he's the guy that is tasked with the unpleasant job of getting you to pull over, getting you to answer questions, proof that you have insurance, and then maybe have you do a drunk test to see if you're capable of operating a vehicle safely. And if not, then you got to get in the cuffs and you got to go up to jail.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because this kid raised around this all his life, and what's he opt for? Violence. So I get to hear updates on this probably weekly, and I feel kind of sad for the kid because as much as he's got a good extended family, he just didn't take any notes growing up. This is him and his father's fault. So it's 2 people's fault. Never just one.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, how big was he?
What, ma'am?
How big was he? He sounds like a big guy, even though he may be still a
He's
teenager.
probably 5'10" and a good 180 pounds.
Yeah, he's a
Like,
big guy then.
he's 170 pounds, 5'10", 17 years old, big kid. You know,
Yeah.
he was capable of doing some real damage in football, but then he took that skill he had and applied it with kinetics and velocity in real life, and now he's sitting in jail and waiting to figure out how many years he's going to spend in prison for doing what he did. And the family's like not a bunch of degenerates. The extended family's super cop friendly because his uncle is a cop.
Hmm.
So it's just one of those situations where, like, do me a favor, guys. If you get pulled over, if you see lights behind you, don't evade, don't try to avoid it. Just pull over, take your financial lumps. You'll get your money, at another impasse. You'll get paid in 2 weeks, and you'll be able to pay that other set of bills. Like, pay your fucking speeding ticket or pay your reckless driving ticket. If you don't feel like you're being a piece of shit behind the wheel, then go fight it with the judge. That's what it's all for. But for crying out loud, do not try to fight the cops, because then your life goes from bad to from not good to interesting. Interesting is not what you want your life to be. Interesting is how you want to describe people's lives that are on TV, not your own life.
Hmm.
And I just, that was my final thought. If there's anything else, Janet, you got to add to it, let's add it, and we'll cut it for the day.
No, I admit though, this is a really, really well done movie. I was very happy to see Clint in a different light, because I'd seen a pattern happening in the Western movies with not him really himself, because they're characters. But I'm glad that he broke away from the stereotype from the spaghetti westerns, even though they made him what he is today. I don't know if that makes sense, but I can definitely tell that he loved what he did. He loved being an actor, but he also loved what it took to make the movie, not just by portraying a character, but by the other things that go along in a set and how things got put together. Him doing some of his own stunts, and he even did that in this movie. And he also directed a scene, a pretty big scene with lots of people in it on this movie too. So it's nice to see him evolving, getting to see him blossom into what he is, the icon that he is today, and have such a long, good life in so many genres of movies, because he made romantic comedies, he's made action, he's made spaghetti westerns. I mean, he's war movies. You know what I'm saying? It's like nothing was enough. That once he got the bug, that he just kept growing and growing and growing and branching out in different genres and stuff. So not very many people can say that become really big directors or big actors, that he ends up being both and producer. So yeah, I'm going to be more and more impressed, I think, with each movie that comes, because I can see him actually learning and evolving and implementing what he's learned from other directors and producers that he's been working with, and actors also, I think.
Appreciate you, Janet. Want to thank
Thank you
each and every one of you for coming in today. We will be back next week to watch this second Dirty Harry film, Magnum Force. Until then, you all be well. Thanks for being here, one and all.
Thank you.